Hey everyone, before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for real-life stories that hit hard and stay with you. The night buzzed with energy, music pulsing through the walls, laughter spilling across the room, and sparkling lights catching every glass and shimmer in the crowd. I had been anticipating this party all week, craving a night away from work stress and daily routines, picturing it as a carefree evening with friends. Couples twirled on the dance floor, colleagues chatted in tight circles, and champagne flowed freely, giving the atmosphere a nearly magical feel. My husband and I arrived hand in hand, greeting familiar faces with smiles. For a rare moment, I felt truly happy. But even amid that joy, there was a subtle tension between us, remnants of small arguments from earlier in the week that hadn't fully disappeared. I clung to hope that tonight would feel different, that the laughter and fun around us might somehow dissolve the lingering unease. For a while, everything seemed perfect. We danced, laughed at jokes, and I watched him smile, thinking about how lucky I was to be with someone I loved. But beneath the glittering lights and the music, a nagging unease lingered, a gut feeling that something unexpected was about to unfold. It started small. I noticed him checking his phone repeatedly, the warmth in his smile shifting to something tense. I brushed it off at first, maybe work emails, maybe just stress, but soon he began pacing near the entrance, fidgeting. My chest tightened. There was something in his eyes I hadn't seen before, a flicker of agitation. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but before I could, he muttered something about needing air and walked briskly toward the door. I thought it was harmless, a quick moment outside. Turning back to the party, I laughed with friends, trying to let the evening continue, but the knot of worry in my stomach only tightened. Minutes passed, and he hadn't returned. Calls to his phone went unanswered. A creeping sense of dread settled over me, making the cheerful chatter around me feel distant, almost unreal. I stepped outside, letting the cold night air slice through my thoughts. I scanned the street, expecting to see him leaning against a wall, checking messages, or talking to someone. But he wasn't there. Panic began to claw at me. I walked down the street, eyes darting to every corner, every shadow. My mind raced, conjuring worst-case scenarios. Then a faint flicker of light from a nearby alley caught my eye, a glow that seemed oddly out of place. Hesitant but compelled, I moved toward it, my heart hammering with a mix of fear and dread. As I neared the alley, I froze. There he was, my husband, standing close to another woman. My heart stopped. My hand shook. I could barely breathe. She laughed, leaning toward him, her hand brushing his arm in a way that made my stomach twist. He smiled back, completely absorbed, unaware of my presence. The world tilted. The party's music and lights seemed to vanish, replaced by a tense silence I wasn't prepared for. My first instinct was disbelief. Maybe I was reading it wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. But the way they leaned in, their laughter, the ease of their closeness, it was undeniable. I stepped back, frozen, unsure whether to confront him or run. My heart ached, not just with anger or jealousy, but with a profound sense of betrayal. This was the man I had trusted, loved, and shared my life with. And here he was with someone else, as if everything we had meant nothing. I wanted to scream, demand answers, but my legs felt heavy and my mind numb. Then, the woman leaned closer, whispering in his ear, and his expression shifted, amusement fading, guilt surfacing. He glanced around frantically. That's when he saw me, standing there, frozen in disbelief. His face went pale, confidence crumbling. I didn't think you'd see, he stammered, voice barely audible over the distant music.
I didn't respond.
I just stared, my body trembling, every ounce of hurt and betrayal erupting inside me. He wanted to explain, to justify, but no words could undo what I had witnessed. Before I could speak, he turned and walked away, not daring to look back. The woman watched silently, smirking briefly before disappearing into the shadows. I stood there, stunned. Shock, sorrow, and anger swirled inside me. The city lights blurred. The world spun. I had been thrust into a nightmare where the person I trusted most had betrayed me so blatantly. Eventually, I returned to the party, but everything felt hollow. The music, the lights, the laughter, they all seemed distant. Friends asked if I was okay, but my mind replayed the alley over and over, him laughing with her, the look on his face when he saw me. I realized then that my marriage, the life we had built, was not as secure as I had believed. The foundation I trusted was crumbling, and the person I loved felt like a stranger. That night, I drove home alone, city lights flashing past in a blur. I thought about every argument, every secret, every overlooked or forgiven moment, wondering if these had been signs I ignored. Anger and sorrow, betrayal and disbelief, mixed with the painful truth. Some realities can't be avoided. I knew one thing clearly. I couldn't go back to that party. I couldn't pretend everything was fine. And I couldn't continue a relationship fractured so publicly and undeniably. In the days that followed, I confronted him calmly, demanding answers. The confrontation didn't bring closure. It brought clarity. Love without trust is fragile. No charm, apology, or explanation could restore what was lost. That night, I made the hardest decision of my life, to step away, reclaim my dignity, and rebuild my life on my own terms. The party lights had sparkled, the music had played, everyone had been having fun. But my world shattered in an instant. And within that heartbreak, I found strength, knowing that some endings, as painful as they are, open the door to a new beginning.